In the recent years, especially before the coronavirus, we have seen many of the global hotel groups promising to reduce their single plastic usage or to do better by the environment. But sustainability is not just the latest trend. It is a pathway to tackle the most pressing problems that we face as a society. This includes environmental change, but also the other problems outlined by the United Nations in their Sustainable Development Goals, like poverty, education, and inequality. And they all require global cooperation, not just by countries, but by different industries. The hospitality industry has a big part to play, as we represent approximately 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And this figure is expected to grow because it is based on data from 2009 to 2013 only. According to the Paris Agreement, we must reduce our emissions by 66% by the year 2030 and by 90% by 2050. This is a big step, and we have a lot of work to do. And this is why the different stakeholders are becoming more educated and enforcing these rules. This includes consumers through the demand, but also investors and governmental institutions. Government-led initiatives like the EU Green Deal and others will be enforcing ESG, meaning environmental, social, and corporate governance, and making sure that everybody in the industry and globally plays their part. This is why sustainability is not just a trend, but the future of hospitality. There are many things that can be done to make a hotel more sustainable. This goes from thinking about the problematic during the planning process and implementing larger investments in the development plan to small things during the operation, like removing plastic straws. It is very important to educate and engage your staff, as they are the ones implementing your sustainability targets during the day-to-day operation. Things like reducing food waste can have a very big impact. So the kitchen staff should be well trained in making sure that every part of the produce is being used and reducing the waste at the end of the day. This can also be done through apps like Too Good To Go, which can help you sell unsold meals. Furthermore, it is very important to improve your energy efficiency. This can be done by, first of all, measuring how much energy you use, monitor it to see where the problems lie, and then you can invest in the parts that really need to be improved. Renewable energy sources like solar panels can also have a big impact. If that is not a possibility for you, you can partner with suppliers that provide renewable energy sources. Strategic partnerships in general can very much help you make sure that the whole operation is well thought out in terms of sustainability. And then another big part that can help is educating your guests through signage and the nudge theory, encouraging them to have a more sustainable stay as well by not having their rooms cleaned every night or not having their towels changed, and small things like that, which make them think about their actions as well. But generally, there are so many things you can do, and even the small things that don't need too much investments can have a big impact. Initial investments in sustainability are usually higher because buying the state-of-the-art boiler, for example, is more expensive, but it will increase your operational efficiency, it will reduce your resource consumption, and because of that, you will be paying less on a monthly basis, and you will see a better return on your investment. Now, obviously, having that first investment is a decision to make, but it really is worth looking into the long term and making sure that your investment pays itself off quickly. It's also important to know that travelers are increasingly caring about climate change and sustainability and basing their booking decisions on whether or not a hotel is sustainable. So by not being sustainable and not taking these steps, you might lose out on business, and this will impact your performance. Investments can also be made more bearable as there's a lot of funding available for them. So if you're planning on renovating your hotel or building a new hotel, you should look into the funding options that there are. There are many investors who are willing or have budgets for funding sustainable buildings. ESG investing has also increased a lot in recent years, which shows us the changing priorities of investors. They have their own targets to uphold as well. So if you're planning on selling your hotel in a few years, you will be held to those targets of the investors. So your return or the value of your hotel in the future is impacted by the investment decisions that you make today. And if sustainability and ESG are going to be higher up on their priority lists, they should be on yours as well. The cost of inaction should also not be neglected, as governments on their sides also have targets to uphold. So for the Paris Agreement, they have their own targets, and to the United Nations and to Sustainable Development Goals. So they will have to introduce penalties for non-compliance. This could be taxation or even fines. And then obviously there's the risk of climate change. We've seen in the US, for example, many wildfires this year, and also in Australia at the beginning of the year. And there are many climate disasters happening around the world, and there will be more in the future. And this is definitely a risk that should be considered, as it could impact you and your hotel in the future as well.